Mr. Tim, okay, I've seen your thumbs up. All right, good evening, everybody. You are welcome once again to the Sustainable Youth-Led Agronomy Knowledge Transfer class. Um, Thank you all for joining from your various location. All right, so last week we talked about tomato production. For last week, last 2 weeks, we discussed tomato production. Mr. Jude, Mr. Jude was the one that took us on that. He took us on a journey. He took us from selection of seed till planting. He also took us from the market aspect because one thing that stood out for in that class is you have to know your market before you plant anything, even tomato, because you cannot go and plant cherry tomato and you want to sell to the market woman. That is, you are already at loss at the beginning, because those people, they will see cherry tomatoes as a tomatoes that failed in production, whereas that is the variety. So he made mention of that. All right, so today we'll be discussing downy mildew in cucumber production. Downy mildew in cucumber production. For experienced cucumber farmers, this is one of the most dangerous and how will I put it? The most dangerous and the most this particular disease can end your production on time if it's not well managed. And we have a professional in our midst. So Mr. Stephen Ogbebo, hope I'm not calling your name wrongly, oh, please. You have to forgive
It's, it's fine, sir.
me.
You're correct.
Also known as Mr. Splendor. I call him Splendor. He's an experienced cucumber farmer, and he's going to take us on the journey of downy mildew in cucumber farming. How can we combat downy mildew, or how can we prevent downy mildew? Because in as much as we want to know the disease, it is better we prevent it than curing it, because when you start curing anything, you start losing money in your production. So I will hand over the floor right now to Mr. Stephen to um, tell us, to give us the good message of combating downy mildew in cucumber. Please, let's give him a thumbs up as he takes over the class. Let's give him some reaction. Let's give him reaction.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Good evening. Thank you, Uncle David, for this opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for making this possible. So, without wasting our time, sorry, my voice is not too loud. I hope you can all hear me.
We can hear
I'll
you,
try
sir.
as much as possible to. Okay, I will try as much as possible to be audible. Um. So today we'll be looking at Danny Middle in cucumber production. I'm sorry, we just had to. I know I was supposed to do production, talk about the general production before this, but I think this is one of the major challenge in cucumber. And maybe on another class we can look at production. So for today we will be talking about Danny Middle on cucumber farming. Please, sir, can I get the slide? So start with the introduction. Boss Timmy, please, can I get the slide?
He has moved the slide.
I'm not seeing. Okay, all right. So the first thing we'll be looking at um, the objective of the class today. So basically, what we want to do today is to be able to identify symptoms of Danny mildew, understand the life cycle of the pathogen, then describe the environmental condition that favors the disease. Then the last discussion we'll have is how to prevent and manage Danny mildew. Okay, the next slide. So most times when we talk about Danny Middle, there's this misconception that Danny Middle is a fungi disease, though it looks like a fungi disease. That's why it's difficult for many farmers to really fight it, because you are fighting something you are not really aware of. So even though it looks like it has like a fungi in terms of the damage that it does, is not totally, it's partially a fungi disease. So from our slide, the definition, the first definition we have is that Danny Meadow is a fungal-like disease caused by I don't know if I pronounce this well. I'm not so good with this word. Is it fast food? Uh, PSEUDO, Pseudoperonospora cubensis. So that affects cocoa peat. Generally, Danny Meadow affects the whole of the cocoa peat family, your watermelon, your squash, and cucumber. So it affects all the family of cocoa peats. It causes it affects it causes the leaf to affects cocoa peat, causing leaves yellowing, lesion, and reduce yield. So basically, what Danny Meadow affects on your cucumber plant is basically the leaf, mostly the leaf. So you you will notice that when you have an infestation or an attack of Danny Meadow on your farm, basically what's the target site, the target area that this like we said, fungal like disease affects is your leaf. So this the sign or the symptom that you see is that you have yellowing, a lesion, and then the overall at the long run it affects your yield. It affects your yield. So why we progress, we see the symptoms and then the damage that it does. So the second definition we have on our slide is that um, Danny mildew, it's actually um, called it is actually called the organism that um, the organism that spread this disease is called, is like I said before, it's not a fungi. It's not a fungi disease. It's kind of we call it omcetis. Omcetis, like a water mold. Omcetis, like a water mold. So when I explain further, we'll get a specific. It's a specific pathogen in cucumber that affects organism. The exact organism is, like I mentioned before. I don't know if we can see. We will get the slides. I don't know if I can pronounce it very well. I'll try. I'm trying to pronounce it very well. Pseudos, Pseudoperonospora cubensis. So these parasites, before it grows on your cucumber, there are certain conditions. There are certain conditions that favors it. So it survives as a living host in plant. So it the parasites, the homicetes, it stays on your leaf. So when the condition of the environment favors it, from there it begins to grow like your every other fungi or your bacteria. So when there is a good environment for it, it begins to grow. It actually attacks mainly the leaf, not fruits or stem directly. Please, at the next slide. Okay, so why people call it a fungus? It looked like a fungus because number one, it produces spores. It produces spores. Those spores are like the seed. Permit me to say the seed. Those spores are like the larva. You know how reproduction takes place. There needs to be something like we are farmers. There needs to be something like a seed. So this fungi, this the what grows as tiny middle on your plants, it's a spore. It's a spore. It looks like we'll see the spore later on as we progress. Number two is that it forms a mud-like growth under leaf. So when we say a mud-like, it's like a water, a stain of water. Like when you pour water on your leaf, there's this thing that when the water stays on your leaf for a very long time, it weakens your leaf and then it leaves a mud. So that's how Downy mildew manifests itself on our cucumber leaf. Number three, it's spread in a similar way. Like fungi grows very, very fast. A fungi can be here and then as far as the environmental condition is favorable for it, it grows very, very fast. So that's the same way this fungi-like organism that we'll talk about, the omysectic, I'm not good with pronouncing the pathogen. It spreads in a similar way. So we see a table to differentiate Downy mildew from other fungi. I said the cell wall, it has a chitin, but for Downy mildew, it is cellulose. Biologically, it is a water mold, it's not a fungi. So why I'm bringing all these notes is so that we will be able to combat it. So it's not like you are fighting a fungi. You need to know what you are dealing with. That's why I'm bringing these notes of introduction so that we truly understand what Downy mildew is. So for control, if it's a fungi that you are dealing with, there is standard fungicide. There is standard fungicide that you use. But for Downy mildew, there is need for special fungicide. Like I said, that's why many farmers will tell you that if you are familiar with attacks or outbreaks of Downy mildew on your farm, you cannot just walk into the agrochemical store and go get any type of fungicide. If you're getting a fungicide, it must be a fungicide that can act on water mold. It's not just only going to be something that can treat fungi. That's where many farmers mix it. Because you have Downy mildew on your farm, the first thing you think you are thinking of is to go get a fungicide. By the end of the day, when you apply it, it does not give you your result. So in control, we are focused on getting special fungicide that can treat that. So let's see the next slide, the condition that favors Downy mildew, the condition that favors Downy mildew. So like I said before, for this pathogen to grow on your plant, the first thing is that it enters your leaf. Yes, there are major place where you find Downy mildew is on your leaf. When they get there, Downy mildew often caused by an organism like Downy mildew pathogen, such as like we mentioned the name before, spreads and develop through a very specific life cycle driven by moisture and environmental condition. The conditions that favor Downy mildew, number one is high humidity above 90%, cold temperature from 10 to 25 degrees Celsius. Then number three, your leaf wetness. So when you have dew, when you have rain or overhead irrigation. Then number four, poor air circulation. So I'll quickly stay on this part for a while. Basically, you see, as farmers, if you want to combat Downy mildew, the first thing you should know is that these spores, they need a certain uh, type of atmosphere, temperature for them to grow. So when your farm, when you are approaching temperature below 25 degrees Celsius, that's intense cold, like a cold temperature, the possibility of these pathogens to survive is very, very high. It's very, very high. So the condition favors them. So if you can, the first thing you should be able to do as a farmer in combating Downy mildew is to know how to control your temperature. Very, very important. To know how to control your temperature. To know how to control your temperature. I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my phone. 1 minute. Okay, I'm not seeing the slide again, sir, Timmy. Don't know if you can help me on that. I'm not seeing the slide again. Mr. Timmy, please, if you can. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So the condition that favors it, like I said before, your temperature. So as a farmer, once you, for me, what I do is that I have every day of my every activity when I carry out my daily activities. The first thing I do as a farmer is to check out my temperature. Check out my temperature. Even now that we are approaching rainy season, if you know during the dry season you don't really have issues with Downy mildew, like um the temperature is kind of hot, so the possibility of the fungi to grow very very fast is very high, it's very low, sorry. So now that we're approaching rainy season, the temperature will start witnessing temperature from below 25 degree, especially at night, especially at night. During this rainy season, during this dry season, even at night, we will notice that the temperature, because for me, every day I check my to
Your, I think,
know, okay, this is real particle, 25-degree at night. So the possibility of dynamically growing the spores growing on your farm, if they are present there, is very, very high. So the possibility of it going there is very, very high. So the second one we are talking about is leaf wetness. Leaf wetness. So you see, sometimes some farmers over water their plants. Some farmers over water their plants, number one, and then we have rainfall, number two. Then number three, we have dews. Like if you notice, some days you just wake up and then you will see dews everywhere. So your plant will take those water. Now, what is supposed to be good for your plant, when it becomes excessive, it becomes bad for them. Become bad for them. So every one of us knows what transpiration is. Every one of us, every one of us knows what transpiration is. Sorry, I'm coming. Sorry for that interruption. So there's something called transpiration. Now we need to understand the ability of your plant to take water from your soil and then release it to the atmosphere. So any water you are giving your plant, they takes it from the phylum of your stem, then it goes through your leaf, the xylem and all that. I don't want to go deep on that. So when your plant takes water from the soil, your leaf. So I believe we all know what I'm talking about, transpiration. So when your plant takes more than what they need, there's excessive water. Some of this water does not, at the end of the day, leaves your plant. It stays on your plant for a very long time. So if there's a duration that there's a duration that the wetness of your leaf will take, that will affect, that will make these spores to grow. So there's a duration that this there's a duration that this wetness will take on your plants that will help these spores to grow very very fast. So the first thing you need to do as a farmer is to know how to combat wetness on your leaf. So some of the practical things we can do: don't give your plants water when it's more than 4 p.m. in the evening, because any water you are giving them, as at that time, the your temperature is already going down. Like from 4 p.m., your temperature is already going down. So transpiration is very, very low in that time. So what happens is that you give them too much water, then instead of transpiring that water, you see the you see the your leaf being wet, and you doing that is automatically, see, it's not like, is automatically you are already creating dynamic on your plant. Please, sir, the next slide. Mr. Timmy, the next slide. Oh, thank you, sir. So how does this spores grow? Like I said before, it's a pathogen, even though we mistake it to be a fungi. You can look at the slide. I don't know if everyone can see the slide. So this is how it grows. The pathogen produce spores called spororanja, mostly on the underside of the infected leaf. This happens mainly at night when humidity is very high. You know, at night the temperature seems to be very, very cold. The temperature are cold from 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. That's why you often see a gray or purple fuzz under leaf early in the morning. So when you have moisture like coldness or wetness on your leaf, when you have wetness on your leaf, now the factors that leads to this infection, and then you have a cold temperature and your leaf is wet, it equals to the infection. You just see it grows. So the condition for it, the spores growing there, is very, very high when you have this condition. So the spore release there's this disperser. The spores are released into the air and spread by winds. They are spread by winds, water splash, winds and water splash. So, like I said before, this pathogen, they are free on your hair. They are free on your hair, and then they are also on your soil. Then when you have water splash, that's why it's also good that as a farmer you know how to do some cultural practices to prevent some certain disease on your farm, like doing mulching on your farm and all that. So we may think those things are not really add to what we are doing, but on a long run, it does. So when this when there's the presence of the pathogens on your farm already, and then you have winds blowing, it is easy for the wind to carry the pathogen. Anything that makes it to have to just drop on your leaf, on the leaf of your cucumbers, it starts growing. It's as easy as that. Especially if the temperature favors it. That's why when you notice when you come to your farm, yesterday your farm can be very, very fine. The next morning for you to just come, this is most times it will not tell you that it's coming. You will just come to your farm and then you will start noticing these spores that are growing. So the first thing how you will know is that when you get to your farm, check the underside of your cucumber leaf. So that's why it's very important that every farmer must be able to scat their farm. Check the underside of your cucumber leaf. You will see something like I said before, is a water mud. You will see that there's a kind of wetness on your leaf. It will have a gray color or a purple fuzz. You will notice it on the underside of your leaf. It will have something like a gray color or a purple mousse under the leaf, under your leaf. So if you go to your farm, you want to go and scout for dining wood on your farm, don't go during the afternoon or evening, because like I said before, transpiration at that time is very, very your plants might not really have water on them again. But in the morning, that early morning, your plant has taken water from your soil, they have taken water from the dew and every other thing. Then when you go there early morning, check the underside of your leaf. You will notice this wetness under, especially your lower leaf. You will notice that wetness. Then if you see a gray or a purple fuzz underneath the leaf, it is Downy mildew. So it's not left for you to now work on tackling it. So the next slide, sir. So I already explained this the spore germination. When the spore lands on your leaf, on a wet leaf surface, they germinate. So what this pathogen just need is what? Free water. Once there is dew, once there is rain, then excessive irrigation. So if this leaf wetness lasts for 2 to 6 hours without, if this wetness lasts on your plant leaf for 2 to 6 hours, sometimes depends on your variety. If you have a variety that is very resistant to Downy mildew, maybe on our next class we'll talk about seed selection. I know of some varieties that are resistant. So if one thing is that you cannot get, sorry for me using the word resistant, to an extent, you cannot get any any seed that is resistant to Downy mildew because it's not really a fungi, it's a conditional based issue. So there are some varieties that are kind of tolerant to it. Some will take 12 hours. Some will take 12 hours, but for some, especially hybrid, special hybrids, in less than 6 hours, maximum 6 hours. Once you have this wetness on your leaf for about 6 hours and the condition, your temperature is below 25 degrees, the spores will grow. So number 4, infection process. The spore enter the plant through the stomata. Through the stomata, tiny opening on your leaf. Inside the leaf, the pathogen grows between cell, feed on plant tissue. Next slide. Next slide. Mr. Timmy, next slide. Okay. I think number 5, please. Colonization and symptom. Colonization and symptom development. Okay, thank you. Within a few days, the yellow spots appear on that side of the yellow spores appear on the underside of the leaf. And then check the upper part of your leaf. So at the upper part, you will notice a yellow spore. You will notice a yellow have a mold-like growth. So repeat cycle.
Mr. Steven, please can you turn off your camera so that the network will be free a bit because I think because of the camera. Thank you. So you can
Okay,
go
I've
on.
done that. I've done that. I've done that.
You can go on. You
Is
can
it
go on.
better now?
It's better.
Okay. Hope my background sound is fine.
It's fine. Totally fine.
Okay, all right. Okay, so for the cycle, when these spores are produced, the cycle repeats rapidly. So in less than 4 to 7 days, under the ideal condition, that's why you see during rainy season, you must be able to control this. If you cannot control it in less than 4 to 5 days, Downy mildew can finish your farm in less than 4 to 7 days, especially when we enter the rainy season, when your temperature, even day temperature, we are going below 25. So it's very, very easy for it to grow. The next slide. Identifying the symptom of Downy mildew. So I think I've talked on that before. So let's just see how we identify it. Okay. So like I said before, you check. No, please stay. The first, yes. Okay, thank you, sir. So like I said before, when you are SAKTing on your farm, I don't know if everybody can see this slide or maybe we'll get the slide. Check under leaf, the underside of the leaf. You will see notes. There's a time you do this cutting from 6 to 10 a.m. in the morning. That's when you SAKT for Downy mildew on your farm. That's the best time to SAKT for Downy mildew on your farm. So when you check the underside of your leaf, you will see a kind of a water mold. A water mold. It's kind of wet. The color is gray or purple. So the mold color is mostly gray or purple. So you can only see this early in the morning. So once you notice this on your plant, there's presence of Downy mildew pathogen already. So just for you to now know how to deal with it. So next slide. Okay. So another check is to check the upper part. So this is how it looks on the upper part of your leaf. You will notice a yellow spot. You notice a yellow spot on the upper part, like a yellow angular spot, limited by leaf vein. Is in between the leaf vein. Is in between the leaf vein. So you don't see it going in the leaf vein. It's always it has a yellow angular spot. So once you see this, to confirm it better, check the underside. If you notice that mold, that's the enemy on your farm. Next slide. So in severe case, you have spot, turn brown and dry later. So like I said before, the enemy will affect our leaf. So when the effect is serious, your leaf will die. And we know what happens when your plant leaf falls off. Or imagine all your leaves are falling. Photosynthesis cannot take place. Your fruit or your plant cannot be able to produce enough food for your fruit. So in that situation, your production is reduced already. So like next slide, how it spread. We talked about this air, rain splash, farm tool, and workers. Please let me just talk a bit on. I don't know if I have time. Let me just talk a bit on farm tools and worker. So for this farm tools and worker, this is another way Downy mildew spread very very fast. Because there's one thing that most of us do. You prune your farm. You prune your farm. You will leave those diseased leaves. You still leave it on your farm. For me, I don't take that. I don't joke with that. I tell my workers, if we are doing pruning, once you prune any dead leaf or any damaged leaves you prune on your farm, take it off your farm. Because if you are still doing that, the population of this pathogen, they are still very much present. So imagine rain comes, then there is a splash. It's easy for that pathogen to find a leaf to just stay on and start growing again. The cycle just continues. Or if there is heavy wind like hair, and then this there's still the dead leaves and then affected leaves on your farm, it is easier for it to now spread and affect other leaves. So I tell my worker, I don't joke with that. And then if you are pruning, make sure you disinfect your materials. So you are moving from one plant to another plant. Make sure you disinfect your hand, disinfect any tools you are using to work, so that sometimes as farmer, we ourselves we can be carriers. Imagine I touch a plant that is affected with animal and I'm going to another plant. Automatically, I'm transferring the pathogen already. So the impact on farm, it's rapid leaf death. So the end effect of Downy is that it kills your leaf. So imagine when your leaf dies, automatically photosynthesis cannot take place. So the next point we see that it reduces photosynthesis, then leads to small fruits, low yield, early crop failure. In severe case, it can destroy a field in 5 to 10 days. That's the worst case. And I've seen this practically. I've seen Downy mildew destroy a farm in less than 10 days. So the next slide. So this is the pathogen. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry, Spadosponospera cubensis. So I think I've talked about that I've talked about that. So I will just because of our time, I've explained this already. The life cycle. We see the life cycle here. How the spores stay on that, find your leaf. From there they grow. The infection spread. The cycle just go round like that, all about like that. So this is how the pathogen looks. Next slide, sir. This is how the pathogen looks or under the microscope. It looks like this is how the please the next slide. I think this one shows it better. This shows this sporonogia, sporonogia and branches structure. So it looks like a tiny oval or lemon-shaped body on skin. So that's why pathogen grows very, very fast. If you understand cell mutation and all that, because the structure of this cells is easier for it to just grow. It can just stretch like your plant is growing branches. That's how it grows very, very fast. So if you are not able to combat it on time, it grow very fast. Next slide. Prevention and control. Prevention and control. Number one, we have cultural practice. Use well-spaced planting. Use well-spaced planting. I always tell farmer, I don't know why we are so like. For me, what I do is that my full rows I maintain 1 meter spacing because this helps. Another thing I forget, one good thing is that when there is good aeration on your farm, it's reduce the growth of this pathogen, because if there is enough aeration on your plant, transpiration is easier. The time for water to dry on your leaf is very, very fast. So imagine, for transpiration to take place, it needs sunlight, air, and heat. Those three things: sunlight, air, and heat, for transpiration to take place. So if you have good spacing on your farm, it is easier for um, your leaves to dry out on time. So number two, you avoid overhead irrigation. This one does not even work for cucumber because in this condition, the animal will go very, very fast. Water early in the day. Like I said before, don't water once it's across 4 p.m. at most 4:30. Don't go 5. 5 you can still do 5, but know how you water your plants at this time, because any water your plant is taking at this time is not able to transpire it. So imagine you overwater, and then that water now stays on your plant, especially in the ninth condition when it's easier for this pathogen to grow. Automatically, you have caused damage to yourself as a farmer. So water early in the day. Then last one, remove infected leaves immediately. So there's something I forgot to add. Number 5. This will be number 5. Prune your plant very well. So one other way that you create good aeration is to prune your underleaf. So when you prune your underleaf, you reduce the crowdness or the canopy of your plant. So in this way, number one, when you remove your under leaf, this pathogen that are always on your soil, and then it's easier for it to move from your soil. When you remove your under leaf, you have kind of combat that, and then you create good aeration. Mostly the pathogen moves faster from under your soil. So the next um control method we'll be looking at, this is the last part that the farmer will always go for. Like I said before, we teach as a good agronomy, we will always go with gap. So for me, most times I do cultural practice. Yes, is when we now have, especially during dry season, I don't really do fungicide. I do cultural practice, and it works very, very well. But during the rainy season, we know farming is a business. So this is beyond, Danny is beyond the farmer's control, because it's climate, especially except maybe you are growing inside the greenhouse and all that. But if you're an open field farmer, when it comes to critical stage, you will not tell you may have to use chemical control. So when we are talking about chemical control, like I said before, when we begin the class, we explained that Danimdo is not totally a fungi, or even though it looks like a fungicide, you must know the treatment that you give. Very important. You must use product active against cetis, against water mold, not just any fungicide. You must use a fungicide that is active against uh, cetis, like water mold. So we have preventive fungicide. An example is Macozeb, copper-based fungicide. Macozeb, what was the other one? Chloro, chlorotoluene. Sorry, I don't know the pronunciation. I may not pronounce it very well. Those are examples of preventive fungicide. So what this thing does is that when you apply them, they directly their contacts, they must make contact with these spores and then eliminate them. So if you are using preventive, you must be able to cover. Then another thing to talk on very well is that the farmer should know how to use. If you are going to use a fungicide, you should be able to know the fungicide you are using and the mode of operation. If you are using a preventive fungicide, you must be able to cover your plant evenly, like make sure the target site under your leaf, on top of your leaf. So your major focus is your leaf. So if it's preventive, it must make contact with this water spoils so that you can eliminate them. So we'll now see the second one, which is systemic fungicide. Example, metalazi, dimetromor, dimetomop, propamocap, samozi. There are many. These are just examples. So the spray interval every 5 to 7 days during high risk. So you can only use systemic fungicide when you do not have any other option. And then we must adjust to PHI post harvest interval. Most of these fungicide they take 7 days before you can harvest. But for me, if I want to say a good example of a systemic fungicide that has a lower PHI, like 3 to 4 days, is propamocap. I do use that too. And then I forgot to add biological control. Um, there's a biological fungi that we can use. So what this fungi does, I've forgotten the name of that. I forgotten. Is this sorry, I cannot really get that now. You can get biological fungicide. So during your harvest time, strictly you must follow PHI and then you must do group gap. But before production, before harvest and all that, you should be able to what control. You should be able to control very well. So when you now come to production, you now have alternative. You now have what to do because you must follow gap. So an example of systemic fungicide that you can use, propamocap is a good fungicide that I use. I rotate that with a biological fungicide, and it works very very well. Except maybe the case is now very very the heartbreak is much, so we cannot look for other options. So the last slide is now the conclusion of our class. Farm management. Number one, avoid overhead irrigation in the evening. Ensure good spacing. Spray early in the morning or late evening. If leaves stay wet overnight for 2 to 3 days, is a must. You will expect an outbreak. So this is just for the sake of prevention. Once you have 2 to 3 days, like you have rainfall consistently for 2 to 3 days, is a must. There's already an outbreak of Downy mildew. Don't wait. Just start thinking about prevention. The next thing is start preventively. Don't wait. Once you see it is already spreading fast, use effective fungicide. Like I mentioned before, protectants. These ones they prevent it, and then systemic. These ones they go inside your plant. They fight it from inside. So rotate to avoid resistance. This is during rainy season or excessive irrigation. So that's that's all. I will, Mr. David. I don't know if we still have time. Maybe I can take questions and answer.
So we just have 10 minutes. So if anyone is interested in answering any question, you can please signify so that Mr. Stephen can answer your question. Please just raise up your hand, unmute yourself, and answer your question. Thank you. So the floor is open. Any question? I think there's okay.
Good evening, sir. Yeah. Yes, I get your question. Okay. Yes. 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 Okay. Yes, yes, sir. Okay. Okay. All right. So, like we always say, prevention is better than cure. And then you have to is even better because for me, scarting is a must. You can plant a cucumber that is growing, that is just growing, then Danny middle can affect. You can see the symptoms. Like I said before, when this condition for the spores to grow is there, it will surely grow. Like I have cucumber that are 3 weeks. I don't up to 3 weeks, but I'm seeing Danny middle already. So the first approach is prevention, and then the time of your cycle. If you are not really, it's not a problem when you have not started that you have not like you have not entered full production like harvest. So during your vegetative and then flowering stage, it's easier to control because you see, you can control it better because of your phi and gaps, all those stuff. So for me, one thing you do is first and foremost, good irrigation. Don't overwater your plant too much because when, like I explained before, transpiration and all that, when your leaf hold water too much, you are not able to transpire it. You are giving right for these pathogens to grow. Number one, over irrigation. Number two, good aeration. Then we talk about pruning. When your cucumber are young, you can start pruning them, especially your under leaf. Any leaf that you spot, because this thing, like we saw this said, it's stretched like a string. It can grow very, very fast from one leaf to another leaf. So what you do is that you prune the damaged leaf. As such, you eliminate the ones that are contaminated already, and then you apply treatment to it. What you do is that you control it to an extent. So number one, the environmental factor, don't water too much, and then sometimes we cannot control the environment. If there's excessive rain and all that, you should expect it. So don't just wait. Don't wait till you see it. So when I check my temperature, sometimes we are as farmer, we should be able to work with temperature and know what to expect. When I know that this weather is too cold and all that, I don't wait for that spores to grow. I apply treatment immediately. I can use prevention or I can use cultural method, like make sure that there's not too much water on my farm, like excessive watering, and then overhead watering is not done. So when we follow this procedure, even from the onset, it is easier to control. We don't just wait for it to ravage our farm first before we now start controlling. Number one, not overwater, good aeration. You can prune, and then don't wait for the symptom to just show first. Once the condition is possible, you treat it immediately. You treat it immediately. I don't know if that answer your question, sir. Hello, sir. Okay.
All right, is there any other
So is
question?
there any other question?
So, in the absence of any, thank you so much, Mr. Steven. I am so grateful for your time, your knowledge you have shared with us. We are really grateful. And so, for this class will be posted, for those of us that did not start the
Thank
class,
you, sir.
it
It's
will be
an honor.
posted on our YouTube channel, and the materials will be distributed via our WhatsApp channel. So our WhatsApp channel is already on the chat box. I think I should post it again. Okay, I just posted it. So you can join our WhatsApp channel to get more updates on our classes. Thank you so much for us joining the class this evening. Let's have a wonderful weekend.